Hello everyone, my name is Marika Tsugawa from the JICA Ogata Research Institute. So we're now here in Nairobi, Kenya, where we are conducting research on youths living in Nairobi slums. So we are joined today by two of the research team members, Arai-san, who is the lead researcher in this project, and also Shem-san, a local consultant who has been arranging this field research for us. So to start us off, please introduce yourselves and share your involvement in this project. So Arai-san.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm Makiko Arai. I am a research fellow at JICA Ogata Research Institute, and I am a socio-legal scholar with a special interest in access to justice, rule of law, and governance. And I'm typically interested in exploring the views or the perception of the people in the marginalized communities all over the world. Thank you.
皆さん、こんにちは。I am Yuko Shem Okoth. I am the CEO of the Grassroots Walkers Limited. The Grassroots Walkers Limited is a research and consultancy company based in Nairobi. And we conduct academic research, we conduct corporate research, and we also conduct project evaluation.
Okay, thank you very much. And in this interview, we will explore why this research matters and what the everyday lives of youths in slums are like. Could you briefly explain what your research project is about and what made you interested in this topic?
Okay, thank you very much. So this research project is about the young people living in informal settlements or slums in Nairobi, the capital city of Kenya. There are many informal settlements inside of Nairobi city, and they only occupy a very small portion of the city land. However, when it comes to the population, it is said that some millions of people are living in those informal settlements. And such settlements are facing many social economic challenges, including high unemployment, poverty, poor sanitation, and education, and also the very high levels of crime and violence. With that background, our research is trying to explore the everyday justice experience of the young people living in those slum areas and trying to explore the interrelations between such experiences and their views and perceptions towards law and justice in this country.
Okay, thank you. And what methods are used in conducting this field survey, and what unique insights or strengths does your approach offer to this project?
Thank you. We are applying the methodology of qualitative research, and we're combining three elements into the research. Number one is the semi-structured interviews, and number two is focus group discussions. Number three is the individual in-depth interviews. We are conducting those interviews and discussions with the actual young people living in those slum areas instead of Nairobi. Many of them are from Mathare slums. Mathare is a huge slum that is lying alongside the Mathare River that's running throughout Nairobi. And another site for the research is Majengo, that is south to Mathare and Eastleigh. And Eastleigh, we are also having some participants from Eastleigh. Eastleigh is a heavily Somali populated area, but also it is populated by a lot of Kenyan-born Kenyans with different backgrounds as well. So we are conducting those qualitative research to those young people coming from the slum areas. And I think the very unique point or the strength of this qualitative research method is that you can include and deliver a lot of contextual messages to the research, and also can stir up your emotions. Sometimes, if you look at like hundreds of numbers, you can maybe get the fact, but your emotions will never be stimulated with the numbers. However, one person's personal story or life history may stimulate your emotion, and you can learn a lot more from this one person's single story than out of than from millions of data sets that you get. So the combination of quantity and quality size of the research will bring a lot of different aspects into one research. And I think this quality research can enrich and add a lot more spice and context into the research that we're conducting here.
So in the next part of this interview, we will take time to listen closely to Shem-san's life story, much as we do in our field research. And Shem-san is our team member in our research, but just like the young people involved in this study, he also grew up in an informal settlement. And through his experiences, we hope to gain deeper insight into the social challenges faced by young people living in slum areas, their everyday experiences of discrimination, and the ways in which they perceive and relate to the law.
So for me, this is very simple and complex at the same time. So I grew up in one of the informal settlements in Nairobi, and in this case, Korogocho slums, one of the slums neighboring Dandora dumping sites, which is among the biggest dumping sites in Africa. Growing up in slums, life was very complex. Affording a meal a day was very difficult. And then affording school fees was very difficult. More often than not, I would just stay home due to lack of school fees. And then another thing is with regard to the social amenity. The social amenity infrastructure in slum setting was very stressful. At some point, they almost collapsed. We experienced water rationing almost every week. We experienced electricity rationing almost every week. And then food, the quality of food is not to the health standards that is recommended. And sometimes we could survive with other options available that are not to the standards of the quality of health. Drug use is also recently becoming prevalent in the slum settings. And this is a challenge that young people are actually dealing with, and it's gaining momentum because we are having the number of individuals recently using these drugs is gradually increasing time over time. And this is a challenge that will soon eat us from the system. And another thing is that individuals have to struggle with fighting for their lives. And sometimes it's becoming very stressful because it also complicates their psychological orientation. And when growing up, individuals in slum are faced with limited opportunities. And there are only two options they have to get their way out of this complex situation. An individual, if lucky, could be a waste picker, which to individuals in slum, it's a socially accepted job. And this is just but a dirty job, but clean money. And the other option would be you be a criminal, which to most of them is socially unaccepted norm because most of them have ended up losing their lives prematurely just because of involving themselves in crime. Revisiting my life history, I personally lost my dad when I was 5, and later on lost my mom when I was 13. And then this left me with a situation whereby I thought and felt then that my future had sunk. And then, fortunately enough, my aunt came over, and then she took responsibility of taking care of me, paying my school fees, and ensuring that the daily necessities and the daily provisions were provided, which I appreciate a lot to date. But something very unique happened in the year 2007 during the post-election violence. the socio-economic situation of the country almost sank, and everybody was struggling financially. At this point in time, then I faced a complex situation whereby the family could not raise my school fees. And then I had to approach an orphanage and request for an help, which they provided then. And this helped me very much to raise my school fees, to pay my Form 4 school fees, and start for the exams. And then after sitting for the exams again, I moved back to Korokocho slums. So when I moved back to Korokocho slum, again now my aunt hosted me, and I got my first job to work as a primary school teacher in Korokocho slum. And working there, my salary was 3,000 shillings per month. And this was in the year 2013. And I used this money as savings for pocket money in the university, because I had just been admitted into the university. So I was working, saving, as I was waiting for the admission to the university. So my salary helped me a lot during the university, especially in an informal settlement like Korokocho. Discrimination, unfortunately, is the order of the day. And the worst part of it is that the individuals and institutions who are actually supposed to address these challenges of discrimination are the same institutions that are fueling this moving forward. From my experience as an individual living in an informal settlement in Nairobi, I have experienced discrimination. And this was from the police. So my story was very simple. One day I wake up in the morning, just wishing I would have a normal day, just like any other day. So at that point in time, we used to have an office in Donholm. So ready to go to the office, I came down the stairs to the motorbike stage to board a motorbike to the bus station. Unfortunately, during that morning, the police were carrying out their patrols. And then they ended up clearing all the motorbikes that were on the stage during that day. But only one motorbike was left. I still remember the number plate of the motorbike. And then when I went to the stage and I was like seeking to ask the owner of the motorbike, and then what happened, there was a police officer that was just standing nearby. And then the police officer came, and then he was like, "What are you doing here? You probably have to push this motorbike to the station." And then I was handcuffed together with the motorbike. And then I had to push the motorbike to the station. And upon reaching the station, the officers who arrested me recorded my statement at the occurrence book. And the statement read, "Attempted stealing motorbike." And then they left after recording. And so they took me as a criminal who was attempting to steal a motorbike because they just recorded and left. So when my family members came to inquire about my case, they were told that they knew nothing about it except what was recorded, which was attempted stealing motorbike. And I had to kind of pay my way out, and I remember paying 2,000 shillings. And to me, when I look at this entire situation, what happened, I treat this as discrimination, because why would a police officer force me to have committed a crime that I never had an idea to commit in between? And trust me not, that was the first time I was arrested and the last time I was arrested. So throughout my entire life, even living in a slum setting. I have been to the police cell once, and during that time, I was arrested in a way that did not warrant an arrest. And this hurts me to the date. And this is something very common, not only to me. This overlaps to even other individuals in the slum settings. And I think this is something else that we need to look into moving forward.
And despite facing these social and legal challenges, I understand that you studied in Japan for a few years under the ABE initiative, which is JICA's program that provides youths in Africa with opportunities to study for a master's degree while gaining internship experiences at Japanese companies. So was there a key turning point in your life that led you to pursue your studies?
So growing up in an informal settlement, I was often concerned with the situation in the slums. And then there was a motivation towards how would we learn to develop such informal settlements? And then at the back of my mind was Japan. For me, studying in Japan was a very transformative experience. Yeah, we were taken through the practical aspect of the course, which to me was very interesting because more often than not, like in education system in Africa, also Kenya included, we are mainly taken through the theoretical aspect of the classwork. But studying in Japan exposed me to the practical aspect also of the course. And this to me was very interesting. Alongside this, we had an experience to tap into the Japanese corporate culture, which to me is a very competitive culture in the world, especially in the corporate field. And this has helped me very much in managing my company, which is the Grassroots Walkers Limited. And for me, I think I am recently becoming a role model to the young people in the slum settings, because this is a true definition that it can be done. And pushing forward, first, we need to break the chain. We first have to break the chain of being contented in the environment that you are currently living in. And this is something else that can work. And oftentimes I've proved it. And I am a living testimony that this is something else that can work. And this, to me, this kind of an achievement is very special because it works to push other young individuals from an informal settlement that it can be done. And out of it, something good can come.
In your view, what is the significance of this research for the actual youth living in informal settlements?
I think this research is a research of significant importance to the youths living in slum, in that it aims to not only identify the challenges, social challenges they are facing, but also come out with the innovative ways to address these challenges. Second to this is that this research will help to form policy that will guide moving forward this sector, and then bring development in such informal settlements. And thirdly, this research points out the dysfunctional justice system in informal sectors. And I think this is one of the most critical challenge that is affecting these informal settlements. And by pointing out these dysfunctional systems, research kind of point out some hotspots that needs to be addressed moving forward, so that we can have a social system that works for everyone in the community, regardless of their social status.
Do you have a message for young people today who are living in environments like the one that you grew up in?
Thank you so much. My message to you is that never let your environment define your identity. You can do it. It can be done. Let your passion, determination, and hard work contribute to your future growth, your daily growth. Because this is something that has been done before with other individuals. You too has a potential to do it. The challenge is the opportunity is limited, but the potential is there. You can work it out. all the very best.
Okay, so thank you very much today for your valuable insights. And so to conclude this video, what message would you like to share with people in Japan or around the world?
Thank you so much. My message to the people in Japan and around the world is that investing in youth is investing in the future. We have several challenges facing youth right now in developing economies. But then at the same time, we have a lot to learn from these challenges. And then moving forward, develop policies and recommendations that can help to shape these challenges. A lot still has to be done because this problem is here to stay with us. So moving forward, even in future, we would appreciate contribution in terms of expertise, contribution in terms of investments, and contribution in terms of experience that would help us to address such challenges.
I would say the message that I would like to deliver is that something that you will find from our research might be very contextual, but there is a lot of commonalities that you can find, and something very universal about that can be applied to everybody, including you that's watching this video. And the something that you can find from this research is that everybody wants to be treated with dignity and never want to be humiliated no matter what. And this is something that, that of course you would feel the same way in Japan or in Kenya or anywhere in the world. And another message that I would like to deliver through this video, especially to the young people in Japan, just step out of where you are, your comfort zone, and then try to explore the world. There are a lot of people that may look different, but they share the same problems and the same joys of life.